Latinos Out Loud podcast. Yeah, that's what this is. Latinos Out Loud.
Yo, summer, we back, yo! Hi! Oh my God, it's been so long. Come on in, make yourself comfortable. Sit down, relax. Have a summer spritzer, maybe Manischewitz and seltzer. We were just talking about that. Hey, it's your girl, Rachel La Loca. Here, this is Latinos Out Loud, LOL if you like acronyms. It is so good to be back. Took a little summer hiatus, a little summer break. Had to recalibrate real quick. Shout out to everybody recalibrating this summer. Went on vacay, you guys. It was amazing. It's so good to be back in New York City, though. Whoa, what a shift. Okay, did Florida, North Carolina, the whole family tour. Shout out to all the family members that we connected with on this road trip. Went with my kids. We drove. Yeah, shout out to my boyfriend, Eddie. Like a great driver. A great distance driver, I have to say. We did lots of podcast trivia. Shout out to all the podcasters out there that really helped us on this road trip. There was the family road trip trivia podcast. There was another one, I think it was like bar trivia. Anyway, it was just really great to keep the mind engaged. And I also learned a lot of great information that can be conversation starters. So just be on the lookout, friends. I'm going to be saying some random ass facts in the coming weeks that I learned on this trivia podcast road trip. And then once we got to Florida, did Universal Studios. It was 102 degrees. Imagine what that was like with a bunch of children. Lots of hydration and chicken tenders and French fries and refilling of those cups. But it was an experience. Also went to the Ponce de Leon Natural Springs. Amazing. Like, I love when I can go someplace and there's a piece of history and like leisurely activities at the same time. So got to see a little piece of history. There were these like blocks that you're not allowed to touch that were founded by Ponce de Leon. So that was really cool. I can recap this trip and it would be a whole episode. We did so much. Shout out to my sister and my brother and the family in Deltona. Okay, I see you. Had a great time. And they really rolled out the red carpet for us. It was a wonderful, relaxing experience. But it's good to be back podcasting. Now, let me just tell you something else I did before the vacay. Got invited to the premiere of Eva Longoria's new show, The Land of Women. Have you checked it out yet? It is out on Apple TV+. What an amazing event. Got to see the pilot episode. Can we just talk about the candy bar? Wow. Okay. I love when I go to these events and like there's popcorn, but there was not only free popcorn, there were like margaritas galore and like the candy bar, the goobers and the gumdrops and the licorice. Like, Eva Longoria, you are such a classy lady. I just have to say, and I love your show. Check it out on Apple TV+, The Land of Women. Love to see it for women, by women. It's really for everybody, but like a lot of females representing in this show. Okay, speaking of show, we have a show today. Back from vacay, and I'm diving right in, just getting immersed into this amazing experience. We have spoken about Banksy on the Latinos Out Loud podcast at length. He's come up many times. Shout out to Frank, who always brings up Banksy, and lots of controversy around him. Is he an artist? Is he a vandal? Is he both? But you guys, now there's a Banksy museum here in New York City, and I am talking to the executive director, William Meade, is here with me. Hi, William. Can I call you Bill?
Absolutely. How are you doing? Or Guillermo? Or what? Yeah, what's the Spanish word?
William? I don't know. Guillermo? I don't even know, but I'll call you Bill because it's one syllable.
All right, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Now, you just said something though, that I have to call you on because you're assuming that Banksy is a man.
I am, and we don't even know who Banksy is.
We don't even know who he is.
Who is? Are you Banksy?
I can't say, but no. But the point is that we don't know. We don't know. This guy started in the mid 1990s. This person started in the mid 1990s in England, in Bristol, producing a tremendous amount of street art around London and around Bristol and stuff. But to this day, we still don't know who he or she is.
It's so amazing. Like, Banksy can also be a collective. Do we even know if Banksy is one person?
We don't.
Do we even know if Banksy's an alien? Maybe he came from an art planet.
You know, that's the first time I've heard that one. That's a good thinking, you know. Or
Can't
maybe
say-
it came from a Broadway show that we haven't heard yet.
Could
Maybe
be.
a new Broadway show.
I could be Banksy.
Well, there you go. The coolest thing about this museum is that we actually hired about 8 street artists anonymous street artists from Europe that came over here to create this. They spent about 4.5 months here. And what the idea was is that we would try to create 167 replicas of Banksy's work. Now, why replicas and why not the original Banksy's? There's one reason. Over 90% of the material that you're going to see in this museum has been destroyed. Banksy has been an outlaw for a long time. So out of, say, the 30 pieces that he created in New York City, there's only 3 left.
Where are they? What are they?
There's 3 of them. Basically, the Hammer Boy, which is on 79th Street and Broadway.
By Zabar's.
Right by Zabar's, yes, and they have their name right on top. And
they did something to protect the art, didn't they?
well, the story is that as soon as Banksy created the piece there, they went out and got a big plastic. It was on the you know, the
Give me a syllable.
salad,
Is it
salad
a noun?
bar, salad
Okay,
bar. It was on the salad bar, the
bar.
sneeze thing in the salad bar. So
Ah.
they took the big plastic thing, they put it on, they, you know, pounded, attached to the wall, so nobody would touch it or try to paint over it. Then of course they put their logo on top. So you know,
Wow,
the
Zabar's.
yes,
Wow.
Exactly. So that's
Shout out
one.
to the marketing people at Zabar's.
Exactly. Well, you know.
Overpriced food, but really good.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of good lox and bagels and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But anyway, the point is that there's one. The second one you can see, but you're going to have to pay for it. And there's a building along the West Side Highway called the Hustler Club.
As in like the Bounce Chicka Wow Wow Hustler Club?
Say that
okay.
again.
You know, the Bounce Chicka Wow Wow.
well,
you know the
okay.
music. Okay.
Yes, okay.
Well, I'm assuming.
Yes.
I'm making an assumption here. You may not know the music.
Well, no.
That's respectable too.
In 2013, Banksy created, as I said, 30 pieces around New York City. One of them was created on the doorway, on the pull-down metal doorway at the Hustler Club. So the guys in the Hustler Club said, hey, what a great idea. So they ripped the whole thing off, bought it inside, and if you want to see it, you can pay if you go in the Hustler Club.
Wow.
Well, I'm sure you have to pay and keep paying, but you don't have to put
That
any
is-
dollar bills in it, that's for sure.
That's good to know.
That's good to know.
And that is the only reason why I would go to the Hustler Club.
Right,
ever.
exactly.
Okay.
You get through the front door and then, But anyway, the other one is out in Coney Island, and unfortunately that one is about half destroyed.
Oh,
It was painted,
no.
painted over it. The weirdest thing is that for a long time, people thought of street art as vandalism. People didn't recognize that these people are real artists. And this is the thing, this is the whole point. Because somebody puts something in a museum, they tell you what's important. By putting it on the wall in the museum, they're saying to you, this is important, I think this is important, and you should think this is important. So I'm telling you that. Now the next thing they do, they put things in an order on the thing. So this is how you should experience this art. And then the third thing they do is they tell you all about the artist. This guy does this, and this guy does that, and Picasso did that, and then so you it's like coming to a blind date with all the baggage. You know everything about this person, so you don't experience the person or the artwork in a real way. You don't have the interaction because everybody's telling you what to think. So if you think about it though, in every single day you're told what to do, and this is this, and why you should believe that, and why you should do that. And what we want to do is the best thing I hope that when people come here is that they think for themselves. Banksy has a very, very specific way of creating things. He takes very simple objects, a lot of times very simple things, and puts them together in a way that's really unusual, which is a genius. I mean, he is a genius, and it's unusual because you're taking parts of everything and minuscule parts of everything and just creating something brand new, and that's the amazing thing. So you're going to walk away with something new. Your kids will walk down here and say something new. Your parents will come down and say something completely different, and you're all right. And if you think about something as simple as this right behind us, you'll see that all it is just a child letting go of a balloon.
It just invokes so many emotions, though. And what I love about Banksy's works are also there are so many messages, but I think up for interpretation, to your point. There are these like government sort of secret messages
Right.
embedded within the art. Do
Well,
you want to speak to
the
that?
thing about it is that Banksy is an activist artist. Now, an activist means that he is a cause. He has many causes, but one of his real big causes is that he believes that everybody is equal. That because in our society we have groups of people that are throwaway people. There are groups of people that don't mean that that we don't take seriously. The people with disabilities, people with the American Indians, all sorts of minority groups. The main society doesn't take. But what Banksy does is that he is a champion for that. And so people that you wouldn't normally pay, things that you wouldn't normally pay attention to, he creates that environment so you do pay attention to it. So, and one of the really coolest things that you're going to see in the museum is that the museum is divided up into various parts, but one of the coolest things is that Banksy went into Palestine, and Banksy went into Gaza, and Banksy went into Ukraine. And so when you think about it, when you're in Ukraine, he went from in 2022, just after the Russians had bombed most of Ukraine into oblivion. What does he start doing? He goes around and starts putting art on all the walls, starts painting on all the walls. In other words, he uses all the buildings as canvases for what he believed in. And so what that does is it says, if your house is being blown up and somebody starts creating, that says that you matter. You're important. You're not just somebody that's a cockroach to be thrown away. You're somebody that means something. And so so even though there's all this destruction and everything, we're going to find beauty wherever we can find it, and that you're important and we still care about you. And that's an amazing thing.
His thought, or her, can we just say his for
All right,
the
we'll
sake
say
of
for
this
now, yeah,
interview?
right.
Okay. Like, I wonder what his thought process is. Like, you see something happening in the world and you go there and you put your stamp, literally your stencil on it. That's remarkable. There's like no fear in his mind.
Well, there's people that walk the walk and talk the talk. And this is a guy that goes into a bomb zone and does that. He created, and one of the other cool things is that in Israel, where they created the wall between the Palestinians and the Israelis, there's this huge wall there. And so what he did was he said, look, I'm going to create a hotel. And it's called the Walled Off Hotel.
I love it.
Right. As
Gosh,
opposed
I
to
love
the,
wordplay.
And so, but anyway, the point is that he advertises the hotel as the world's worst views of anywhere in the world, because every single room in the hotel faces the wall, and he's painted various artworks on the wall so to enhance that. But in essence, it is true. He's created something to highlight something that everybody just sort of throws away. And so when you think about it, his whole obsession with rats. Rats, everybody hates rats. Everybody hates them. Of course, everybody screams and runs away. But what he's done is that he said, rats are essentially, in some ways, what we consider throwaway people, right? People that we don't want to be near. Homeless people, migrants, we don't want to be near them. So we look at them, we look at the other direction. When in fact, we should realize how important and these are human beings that should be treated just like everybody else.
It's perspective.
There's a lot there.
It's deep. I walked the museum a bit before this interview, and just something that I wanted to bring up and question you on is, these are pieces of work that normally would be on the street. This is street art. How or what was going through your mind when you were curating how to have this live within the confines of a building, but yet still have people feel like they are witnessing and absorbing street art?
Well, the thing about it is that what we tried to do, and sometimes more successfully than others, but what we tried to do is that, if you notice, it's on the wall. Yeah. These are all on the wall. There's a number of pieces that are in frames, but what we tried to do is, what I should say, the street artists that we bought try to recreate it the same way. If you were at the Waterloo Bridge in London, wow, that you would try to see it as close as possible to that. And so that has a different way of communicating with you, because you're trying to see it, even though this doesn't exist anymore. the cool thing is that you're able to see Banksy through 30 years.
What it was.
Yeah, what it was and how some of this stuff is very simplistic, but some of it is, as you were saying, is very, very complicated and has many layers to it,
Yeah.
so something as simple as this, I've heard a million different things. You're letting go of your innocence. You're letting go of love. You're going from one transition period to another. And it goes on and on and on.
And it's incredible because it's a stencil, but yet we see this little girl, I guess, her emotion, her hand reaching out. I don't know. It's okay. I guess as someone who's not.
This is exactly my point. You're reacting to it in a real way without somebody telling you what to think.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the most important thing.
So here's my next question.
Sure.
Like, I love art. I took art appreciation in Brooklyn College. Shout out to BC. But I feel like maybe I need to learn how to appreciate art better. Like, is there one way to come to this museum and take in Banksy's art? Or is it like, each person come with your own preferences?
There's a lot of different ways that people appreciate something. And I think that the most important thing is that, as I said, is that you have your own interaction to it. It's like when you're listening to jazz, right? Some people say, oh, you have to be educated to listen to jazz. Well, no, you have to just be open towards it. And in the same way, if you're open towards this, there's nothing complicated about most of these things. There's nothing on different levels. Yeah, there are a lot of levels that go down, but it's what you bring to it is different than, being told it's a Picasso and this and that, and you got to, or it's a Raphael or a Da Vinci or anything like that. This is really important that you personally can have your own experience and still feel valid, because so often people don't want to go to an art museum because they don't trust their own emotions.
Right, and I also sometimes don't feel like invited, not that, maybe that's weird, but like, I feel like I need to be more of an art enthusiast to go to some of these museums. But I will say that having experienced what I experienced here, you don't need to be this scholarly art enthusiast, okay? You don't even have to know your color palettes or anything. Like, take it from me, coming here and witnessing this artwork, this is probably one of the most unique experiences I've ever had in New York, and I'm a New Yorker, baby. But like, this is something for everybody. Do you agree with that?
No, I completely agree. I think that the problem with that most art and most is that somehow we put a block between us and experiencing the art the way it is, and not taking, because they're just people. And they have messages, and they have simple messages, and and sometimes the most effective and the most important message is simplicity. Simplicity and a direct emotional connection, and that's really what it's all about. The rest of it is just a lot of blah blah. Like you buy a bottle of wine and the sommelier says, well, it's this and this and this and this, and you go like, I don't taste any oak. I don't taste any of this.
Not all
I
that.
just taste it's good to me. I don't know. But in other words, so you can enjoy wine and not be educated as a winist. You can enjoy jazz and not be a jazz musician. You can enjoy Banksy and know absolutely nothing about art, which is fun. And we just had a group of about 20 kids here from an art school, from an inner city art school from the Bronx. And the stories that they could tell from this, because this is activism art. If there's two things that I would like people to walk away with: one, think for yourself and get involved. Yeah. Get involved, because there's so many wonderful causes and so many things that he champions that we should all get behind. The migrant crisis, the individual rights for disabilities. There's so many wonderful things that he's over the years has championed as an artist that we can all learn something from here. But it is amazing that this guy has been around for 30 years and has managed to stay anonymous, pretty much anonymous. But the thing is, also remember, what he's created is a brotherhood or a sisterhood. He's created a movement that where all of these people behind him, nobody will give him up. There's plenty of people who know who he is, but nobody will give him up because they believe in the cause. And they also understand what's the most important thing? The work, not the person, the work. That's most important.
That's really monumental. I don't know how she, alien does it. But we love it.
Yeah.
And we just heard a story from Brett that he was selling his pieces one day outside of the Strand, or someone was selling his pieces unbeknownst to the people, and they were buying these prints for $25 a pop, and then it was unveiled by his social media team that they were Banksy's.
Originals. Yeah.
These pranks, okay, first of all, I love pranks, okay? I am like, April Fool's Day is my favorite holiday for the pranks.
Well,
But like, what is that cultural, like, what's the parallel between his pranks and his art?
think about this. What gives something value? What gives it value? Because it's on the street and somebody's selling it on the street, we walk by, oh, he's on the street. He can't afford to be in a museum. Oh, he can't, he's not very good because nobody gives it. When in fact, every one of those prints was worth between what, $20,000 and $50,000?
Oh my gosh! Like,
So,
what in
yeah,
the...
if you had bought them all at that point, we'd be having a different conversation. But the point is that he's on the street selling his prints, and nobody was paying attention to him, and because we don't value those things, it's highlighting what the art world values, what we value. Oh, because it's not, at Sotheby's, or because it's not, and that's another story, and because it's not featured in a gallery somewhere, it must not be worth anything. Or all the authorities have said, oh, it's not worth anything. And in fact, it's not only the financial part of it, but it's really cool to expose all of that.
Yeah. I just think about all the times my mother would go to the yard sales of Brooklyn and like buy a little silver piece of jewelry, not knowing it was silver. And then once she found out it was a celebration, she would call all my tías, mujer, ven acá, yo compré algo de plata, yo no sabía. Like, just telling everybody in the family that she bought a silver bracelet, not knowing it was silver. Like, imagine going home and having a Banksy and not knowing you have a Banksy. I can't even imagine.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the famous stories was in 2018, where this picture was in a frame, and they sold it at Sotheby's, of course, for what was about $1.4 million. And then the second that they sell it, it starts to shred.
Yeah.
And the shredder, now, in fact, the story is the shredder actually broke halfway through. It was supposed to shred all the way through, but only stopped.
No way. Little known fact.
And the other thing too is that, so in, what was it, about a year and a half later, they sold the shredded one for over $24 million. So it went from 1.4, 1.3, 4 to 24 million because it was shredded. And because of that, in other words, what gives value to something? An art, what gives value to, it's an amazing story, because once again, it turns everything upside down. It's more important to have a shredded piece than a non-shredded piece. A shredded piece is worth more than a non-shredded piece.
What a prank.
So, it's great. You see, that's a good prank.
That is a good prank.
You should think about that for next April Fool's.
Oh, I just got a shredder from Walmart and it already stopped working. I just can't win with shredders, seriously. If anybody can recommend a good shredder, let me know. But because right now I'm just doing the old school,
Well, that has its place.
Yeah, or maybe I can find that Banksy shredder and put a bid out for it.
I like that old school. Yeah, that's good.
It's the old school. It's really not just one, because if it has your name and or account number, it's more like
yeah, right.
It's like a multiple thing, multiple cut.
Somebody's out back going through your garbage anyway.
Speaking of multiple cuts, you have this multifaceted career that like led you here. Can we just dive into that a little bit? Like, how does one become the executive director of the Banksy Museum? You have a history of music, Broadway. Tell us more about your life.
Well, it's long and boring, and but
give us the cliff notes.
Well, I started out as a musician. I performed with I used to perform with Machito and Paquito de Rivera and a couple of famous Latin performers. In fact, we played in Rikers Island with Machito one time. That was an experience. Anyway, but I started with that, and then went out with Stevie Wonder and Aretha Franklin and David Bowie, and worked a lot as a musician. I went to producing and produced. Had a couple of record companies, and I started producing concerts and all sorts of things and exhibitions, and worked with National Geographic and American Museum of Natural History, and produced a number of things for the World's Fair and the Olympics, and here we are.
So you've had this trajectory of curating experiences.
Yeah. always live performances.
And
always
how
live.
did you hear about this role, or did someone reach out to you for it, or did?
Well, actually, a good friend of mine, Hassis Fadar, who actually has another Banksy museum in Paris. He approached me about doing New York. We're old friends, and we had worked on a couple projects overseas. So it was it seemed like a natural. It was and couldn't have more fun.
Yeah, I mean, just walking the space for the short time that I did, I'm now more interested in Banksy. Like, is this what you're hearing from others?
Absolutely.
Like, this has really inspired me to learn more and to hear more about the pranks and come back. Because when I came, we only had a few minutes. I want to stand in front of each piece for
For
an
a while
extended
and really
amount
do
of
it, yeah.
time,
Yeah.
just to see, these. It's remarkable that these are made from stencils also. Like, how stenciled are they? Like, we're seeing drips of like what is supposed to be spray paint. Are those drips also stenciled? That's
See, the thing is that
interesting.
when you're putting up an elaborate design on a street late at night, and you're not trying to get discovered, he created the world of stencil art. I mean, and really perfected it, because how fast you can put these things up. So I mean, some of these things that he plans them out and works on and stuff, but they actually physically go onto the wall very, very quickly. So you don't get discovered.
Yeah, and what kind of die cutting job is that? Like, while you're like, there's a lead up to the stenciling that must be laborious.
I have enough problems cutting snowflakes out of things. That's about that. That's about the extent of that. So.
Yeah, seriously. So I guess as we wrap up this interview, I have just a few more questions. Like, how did you even stumble upon this venue? What was like site scouting, or how did that process work?
It almost actually, it was about as good as it gets, because this venue being on the corner of Canal and Broadway, it's funky. It's a really funky sort of area. It's a really, and Canal has its own world unto itself. So it's actually kind of like, it fits in with the whole Banksy mentality, the whole Banksy street feeling. And there are people who sell Banksys all around here and stuff, prints and stuff, which is kind of fun. But this used to be a gym. With 15,000 square feet. So we were looking for something big, because we wanted the biggest one in the world, and we are the biggest Banksy museum in the world.
Wow.
Yep.
And this museum has traveled all over the world.
This museum, there's another version of it in Paris right now, and another version in Brussels and Krakow, and I think, Brussels, Krakow. Yeah, that's it. So there's another one somewhere.
So cool. So how can people learn more about the Banksy Museum? I know there's an amazing website, if you want to just share.
Website is museumbanksy.com. Not Banksy Museum, it's museumbanksy.com. And we're at the corner of Broadway and Canal Street, 277 Broadway, 277 Canal Street. Ugh. 277 Canal Street, corner of Broadway. And it's available, every subway in the world stops right around here, so it's easy to get to. And we are open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
So cool. Okay, this is another bonus question.
Ooh.
Do you think Banksy has visited his museum?
I do. In one way, I do. But but then of course I've been proven wrong about many things. My wife will tell you about all the things I'm wrong about. But I would like to think so, and I would like to think that he would be honored, because one of the things that we're doing here, we're really celebrating his art. We're celebrating street art, and we're celebrating him. And this is one of the few places in the world where you can actually see as many 167 Banksy replicas right here. So it is an important thing to experience, and to be open towards this type of art, because it's really, the artists are really substantial, and they should be recognized for what they're doing.
Absolutely. Okay, second bonus question. Do you think Banksy will listen to this episode of the Latinos Out Loud podcast?
I can only hope. I hope everybody listens. And
Me too. But more importantly, everyone love you. Banksy, if you're listening and or watching, we want you on the Latinos Out Loud podcast. We could do that crazy blurry thing with your face that they do on like America's Most Wanted, like some witness protection type stuff. We can even do the code, like, you know, some sort of like voice changer. You know what I mean? We will keep your anonymity. Did I say that word right? It's a hard word to say. Try saying it 10 times fast. We will maintain your anonymity. I can't say it again, but you know what I just said a few seconds ago. I would love to have him, her alien, as a guest on the podcast. We've spoken about Banksy so much on this show. Like, being here is actually pretty surreal. Thank you for inviting us. William, thank you for so much. This is an amazing exhibit that you've curated. Guys, please check it out. 277 Canal Street is right here in New York City. And for those outside of New York City, is there any chance of this going to other markets?
We're talking about that. We're talking about Los Angeles next. That's where I'm
LA,
headed. Yeah.
okay.
So
That would be great. Congratulations.
thank you so much. And thanks for coming. This has really been a pleasure. And I'm glad you guys came down. It was a lot of fun.
Me too. LOL-eros, check it out. The Banksy Museum, 277 Canal Street. It was just such an experience, and I can't wait to actually do it for real. Like, I'm gonna come back as a regular person and take this all in.
And come with your kids.
Maybe. I don't know. Bill, I don't know. You want to watch them while I tour?
No, that's the whole point. You want them to experience this. You want them to be.
I definitely do. Do you guys have chicken fingers and French fries here? Because that would
I'm sure you could just, you know, give them.
I do bring stuff with me
Exactly.
everywhere.
Just,
yeah.
you know,
Oh, every mom knows you have to have a bag of
a
snacks.
bag of chicken fingers. Yeah. So, anyway.
This has been another episode of Latinos Out Loud. You guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. Make sure to follow us on YouTube. We're on the tube with you. Yes. Check it out. Lots of video content there. And follow us at We Are Latinos Out Loud. That's the handle. My handle is Rachel La Loca, Rachel La Loca. You can also give us a call. No big whoop. 978 Latinos. That's the number. I may answer. I may not. Don't block your number. If you call with a blocked number, I may think you're a bill collector and I won't answer. But show your number, 978 Latinos. Thanks so much for tuning in. We are back. Happy summer, everybody. Thank you, William. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, everybody behind the scenes here, Paola, Newman, and Eddie. And on that note, we out.